But right now we bring on the head men's golf coach at Georgia Tech. He's got to be a proud dude this week now. His guys continue to take care of business. Bruce, good morning. How are you?
It's good. It's nice to be on the show with family this morning as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, Wes, that's your cue.
Well, what do you want me to say? I'm married to his former longtime assistant coach. I mean, what am I supposed to say? I mean, right? I mean, Bruce got, let's just put it this way. Homer Rice hired Bruce Heppler, and then 2 weeks later, Homer Rice made one of the worst mistakes of his athletic administrative career when he made me the radio guy. That's the way I look at it, Pac. How's that?
Bruce, can you confirm that?
Yeah, that is all true. I would like to add, arguably the finest assistant coach we've ever had. I don't know that we were ever ranked below number 2 or 3 while she was part of the program. So we have to give her stuff right off the start, and hopefully she's watching.
Pretty special week again, though, isn't it, though, Coach? I mean, everybody turning on the tube looking for some live sports programming, and, man, you get that scene out there in Oregon, which was sensational and almost surreal, and back-to-back U.S. amateur champions coming from Georgia Tech. That's impressive.
Yeah, it's still haven't quite figured that out yet, but, those are special moments. Those are why you coach. The best part of coaching is watching young people's dreams come true. So to be in the moment, be there when it happens, those are the moments that you remember for the rest of your life.
But, Bruce, this is back-to-back, and it's never been done. I mean, and Andy Ogletree is a tremendous player, and Tyler's a tremendous player. And here are these two guys, and I remember you and I having conversations not long after the whole pandemic started about, this might have been our chance to break through from a national perspective. Well, you got two horses now that have put back-to-back AMs together. Are they different or were they similar?
They were very different because I don't know that either one of them really kind of thought before I get there that, I knew everybody thinks they have a chance. I don't know that anyone would have probably made them crowd favorites, but they've worked really hard. I'm a big believer that when you see other people do things, then you're capable of following them. And from when we bought Matt's trophy now some 20 years ago to put it in the office so kids could walk by and see that. So I think when Andy won, it'd been a long time. And I think being roommates and friends and in the same recruiting class, I think that began to create in Tyler's mind, hey, I want to do the same thing. And so I think one kind of leads to the other, but I think when you see others' dreams come true, you go, hey, man, I beat that guy on a regular basis, or at least every other day. I want to try to do the same thing.
Bruce, you remember the first time you saw Tyler play in junior golf?
Yeah, it was an AJGA event down in South Carolina, and I walked up, my former assistant who's now the head coach of the Vols, said, hey, you need to watch this kid from Florida a little bit. I've watched him play some weekend golf down there, and got there and watched Tyler, and he's one of the few young people I've ever seen actually play an appropriate practice round. He would chip and putt. I think he played the tournament the year before, and he would chip and putt to the places where he thought the hole locations were going to be, where most of these young kids at 13, 14-year-olds just putt and chip to the hole, and I want to walk out and go, hey, it's not going to be there the rest of the week, so I'm not sure why you're spending all your time over there. So really great golf background with his family, and so he really knew how to kind of play and prepare before he ever got here.
But as Pac said yesterday, Coach, match play's a whole different deal. When the AM went stroke and then they make the cut and you get to the match portion of this, what is it about match play for these guys that they have to go to the other gear? How does that work for them mentally, and how do you talk to them about match play when they ask?
Well, I think the challenge with match play is if you think about a 72-hole stroke play championship, it may not be until the last 2 or 3 holes after 3.5 days that you really feel like this is a winning and losing moment. The difference, and you can watch it from the Ryder Cup to anything that you see, is you begin to win and lose on the very first hole. You're going to have a putt on every hole the entire day to either win, lose, or have the hole. And that's just different. So the winning and losing and those pressure moments begin literally on the first green and continue throughout the day. So it's much more intense. It feels much more like I'm winning and losing in the moment than the other stuff. So that's what makes it really emotionally different.
We had Patty Rizzo and Kim Llewellyn on last week representing Miami and Wake Forest women's golf. And I asked both of them, it's amazing to watch the ladies play now, junior golf, versus where it was, however far you want to go back. I played at Clemson 100 years ago, Bruce. And when I go to a college golf event and you see where these kids hit it now, And I mean, these kids are 110 pounds soaking wet and they're blowing it out there 300 plus. And I know the ball and the equipment have changed and everything else, but my goodness, it's not even the same game. It's amazing how talented young golfers are right now. And it's such an international game too, even on the college rank. It's really amazing how healthy the sport is.
Well, I think we can give a lot of credit to that to one Eldrick Tiger Woods. You know, when he came around the gap, it was much like Nicklaus's. From what I understand, I'm old, but you know, saw the end of Jack's time. The physical difference between his game and everybody else allowed him to dominate, and Tiger did the same thing. So now what you see is a whole generation of YouTube people, and I'm telling you, it literally looks like with a driver, they're standing in a batting cage trying to hit home runs. The equipment's better, the ball goes straighter, and you can just basically unleash on it. And no, it's different. You know, been here for 25 or 26 years, and you see the places that they play on the same courses that we've been members at for so long at East Lake and Golf Club of Georgia, where it's like, well, wait, they don't even, the divots are not in the same place they were 15 years ago. So it's a little bit of batting cage golf, but at the end of the day, you still have to be kind of hit it the distances you want it to with an iron and make some putts.
Tyler obviously joins this elite group, Bobby Jones, Matt Kuchar, Andy Ogletree. But what does another U.S. amateur champion mean to Georgia Tech's golf program, Coach?
Well, you know, I don't think anybody, you know, you hope it helps recruiting. But I don't know that people will it's actually going to be any reason why somebody will choose to come here. But hopefully it continues to legitimize what we've done and remind everybody we're still here. And that if Atlanta and the Institute and this type of experience is what you want to do, then there's nothing that you can accomplish in golf that hasn't been done before. So hopefully it just reinforces what we're trying to do here, have incredible support and wonderful boosters and obviously some wonderful guys have come through here. Wes, you're friends with many of them. And it's just been an honor and a privilege to coach at a place where people care so much about it. I know we can take a gig this morning. There's a place that walks around and talks about it just means more. I would argue at our place, the history of Bobby Jones all the way through, in my opinion, and this is a place where it just means more.
It just is more is even a better statement, Coach. I mean, that bottom line. You know, that just means more is a cute little slogan, but it just is more when you got the merchandise and going to say, listen, you want to see some hardware? I got it right here. I mean, come by and see it. You can see it up close. I want to go back to – go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, that feels pretty good coming from a Clemson guy. I really do appreciate that. Your good friend Larry Penley and I have become, great friends for a long time, and I appreciate that.
Well, you got it. And I would throw in the ACC's now won 3 of the last 4 U.S. men's amateurs because Doc Redmond, who is actually a guest on this show from a radio perspective, had a good weekend too. I think finished tied for 3rd or 4th or whatever at the Wyndham. But I want to go back to a comment you made for guys, parents that are watching this morning, maybe even the kids. You mentioned, batting cage golf, and everybody's blown it out there. But, at the end of the day, you got to get the ball in the hole. It's all about, you mentioned the short game. First time you saw Tyler chipping and putting. What would you suggest to a parent or even somebody watching now, male or female, doesn't matter, who's, 8, 9, 10, 11, thinking about getting involved with golf, and you see these guys blowing it out there so far. But like you said, the game is really the last 60 yards in, man. You got to get it up and down from all over the place. What would you suggest to parents and kids going through junior golf right now, the most important thing to work on?
Well, eventually, let's hit it far first. I've got a couple years to find it at some point, but I think that's part of it. And I just think if you're working on wedge game and those kind of things around the greens, inside 100 yards, they've just got to really learn to have distance control, and that just takes hours and hours of time to reproduce the same kind of loft and lie and speed every time you hit a golf shot. And so I don't think you can spend enough time there. I'd get off the range some, play a lot. I see guys who just stand there and beat balls, and that's fine. You've got to work on your technique. But to go out and play and learn how to shoot a score, that's one advantage of playing at a really great place is you're around other people who can really play. And if you get tired of buying lunch, then you figure out how to shoot a little lower. So I think that we had a time here where we actually had a currency that was a little different than the U.S. dollar. It was called Monty money. And Bryce Mulder, when his hair got a little curly, looked a lot like Colin Montgomery. And when any of those guys ever beat him just for fun, they would come to the office the next morning with some Monty money and show me what it looked like. And so I think playing a lot is really how you learn to score and compete. So you can't get away from round after round after round.
Love it.
All right, I'm gonna get out of here. There are two things, and we got to have you back at some point. This has been long overdue for your first visit on this show, but I want to take this at least for the moment. You have always taken an individual sport and molded it into team success, and I tell your story all the time about forcing qualifying, even when you had Kuchar and Mulder and Madison and these, war horses of college golf at the time. How important is the success of an Andy Ogletree or a Tyler Strafaci in the, quote, team concept, the competitive thing that you build in Atlanta to the success they've had in amateur events?
Well, I think you can sense the pulling for each other. It is difficult when you've got 10 or 11 guys and only 5 get to travel to create a team environment. But, my feelings are if we can just move a little closer to that than the next guy, then we've done something. Wes, I love college basketball and would love to have done that and coached that because that's really, to me, the ultimate team game. But we've tried to do that here, make guys care about each other, love each other, when it may be either me or you going to the tournament. And I think that the calls that or the text messages that Tyler got the night before from Kuchar and from his best buddy Andy about what to expect, one on Saturday. Saturday's a tough day at the USAM because the Masters is on the line. And then Sunday's all about winning the tournament. And Andy reminded him, hey, dude, the other guy's just as nervous as you are, so don't feel like you're alone in this. And then just the ebb and flow of that 36-hole day to stay with it. And I think when he got 5 down there early in the day, that team feeling, those guys caring about him showed up, and he fought his way back.
Bruce, I have one more question for you. I'm going to put you on the spot. And if you don't want to answer, you don't have to. I'll give you a chance to get out of this one.
Well, Mark, what you've learned this morning that Wes knows is I give really long answers, so I hope there's not a break coming up, okay? When you don't get interviewed very often, you tend to have long answers if you haven't learned that, all right?
Hey, you can't pull the Leonard Hamilton trick on, hey, you guys need to have me back on more often. Leonard Hamilton has cornered that phrase, so you can't use that one.
It's my favorite ad on the program, I promise you. It's my favorite ad on the show.
All right, well, here's the question.
Go ahead.
If every men's golf coach in the ACC got to the first tee with their own bag, who would you bet on to go low? Who's the number one player of ACC men's golf coaches?
Well, Larry's getting a little long in the deal, but I'm probably got to still go with Jerry Haas. We encourage Jerry all the time. The senior tour is out there, and we'd love to see him go on out that way. So Jerry can still play. Jerry can still make a living hitting it. So I got to go with my friend at Wake Forest. And again, if he's watching, there's a lot of money every Sunday on that Champions Tour. So if he'd like to move on, we'd sponsor him for sure.
Well, congratulations, man. You've really done a great job.
Let me just
Thank
say
you very
in closing,
I appreciate it.
that it's been a real pleasure to spend the last 20 minutes between an accounting grad and an econ grad. I just want to say that. I just want to say that I have gleaned more math information sitting between Heppler, who has a CPA degree, and Packer, who's one of the great economic graduates Clemson's ever produced. I've gotten more information math-wise in my life in the last 20 minutes from sitting here, just so you guys know that.
Well, we ended up both in sports, so I'm going to have to question maybe how good the math was.
Enough said. We end it right there.
Bruce, take care. Always great to see you, my man.
Enjoy your show.